So, hey, just understand when you're listening to the beginning of the chat, you can just, kind of line it up as best you can.
Yeah, we're starting up. We're starting up, but it's almost there. I figure we're on time. We're basically on this show.
This was not my fault this time. I'm going to point this out that it was not my fault. I was here ready to go.
It usually is Dalan's fault. How about that? I'll put it to you like that. Usually is Dalan's fault. This time, yeah, it's my fault. But anyway, so this will be the second week that we got the new format up and running. Again, I am Carlos Macias, along with Dalan Kirkwood on the other end.
Yes, that other man who is blaming Carlos for us being late. I'm Dalan Kirkwood. Hi, welcome to our podcast.
And in case you don't know, so Salient Points is your weekly top 10 news breakdown where the points don't really matter, but they kind of do. So what we do on this show is that Dalan and I mash up our top 10 news articles for the last week, and out the other end comes out a weighted top 10 of our favorites. And I hope you're ready, Dalan. We're going to start the show this week with the business of esports with 15 points. And there's a couple of things to it. I mean, it's been kind of kicked up in this last week. So the couple points I have this week is that, for example, one is Ashland University, which happens to be in Ohio, is offering $4,000 worth of scholarships to student quote unquote e-athletes is what Engadget called them, starting next fall. So that's one of them. The number two, the NBA announced that they entered a multi-year partnership with Twitch to broadcast all the games of their new NBA 2K League, which that means it includes 102 of the best NBA 2K players and up to 199 games. And then the last part that kind of made it a big deal was that Play Versus, which is a venture-backed company, is partnering with NFHS, which is the National Federation of State High School Associations. I didn't know that existed, but apparently it's an equivalent to the NCAA and college sports, and they're bringing competitive esports to high school. Now, if in case you're interested, there will be no shooting games for, I hope, obvious reasons. But starting with MOBAs, sports games, and fighting games, students are expected to pay $16 a month to participate. And the inaugural season is this October, and Play Versus expects to roll out to schools in 15 to 20 states to start. I don't know, Dalan. I don't know about you, but do you think we should start taking esports seriously?
I think we should have had esports when I was in high school. I would have taken them by storm, but it's too late. Like a good too many years too late. How about that? I don't feel like showing my age at this moment. But the fact being is that I actually think it's a good thing, especially with the fact that with everything going on in the U.S. right now, it's not a great idea to really have shooting games anyway. It's nice and controversial all by itself, but having fighting games, sports games like, I don't know, FIFA. I don't know if they'll have, what's the name of that one, rugby? I don't know if they'll throw rugby in there, but maybe some hockey.
Well, it's a good point that you bring up, though. The age thing actually does matter, man. They've actually done studies with older people compared to younger esports players, and it's kind of like, oh, wow, it actually does matter. Your reaction time is different as you get older. You just can't react as well as you could when you're a younger age. But, I mean, it's starting to get serious, and it has been serious. You know, people that are already on the esports bandwagon are kind of like, where have you guys been? We've been.
No, you're taking this in an entirely different direction. What I mean is, back when I was in high school and middle school, I was a nerd for playing games. People were like nerds for watching Star Trek, Star Wars. But I feel like I missed out on something. Like, I wanted to be a part of it. I can't be a part of this.
That you're showing your age and all that stuff.
Hey.
We've been trying to win 300K at Rocket League, man, but I don't know. We're going up against these guys, and then we play tournament play, and it's nasty. It's not easy. But I think part of it is also we got to kind of dedicate the time to it. But it's pretty.
I'd have been up there on Tekken and Street Fighter though back in the day.
And no shooters. I mean, that's unfortunate. Even though we were playing shooting games when we were in high school, right, Dale? You remember playing Counter-Strike with us, right?
I played Counter-Strike hard, but I would not be able to participate in the league even with that. So that have been a ruiner for me.
We had a whole bunch of CD broken copies to go around, and you know, people that know those when you had a CD key, you could only use five multiples of the keys at a time, right? Before, like, hey, did you use this key? Did you use 3333? 5902? Did you use that? So, but it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool that esports are building, and of course, another conversation could be had whether esports, quote athletes can even be considered athletes. So to me, it's kind of like I would even put it in a sense of that it's competitive gaming. I don't know, if you really want to have that conversation, I am not gonna, what do you call it? I'm not gonna die on that flag or stand on it, but whatever the phrase is, where it's like, all right, fine, but at least it's competitive. It does take some reaction time. It does take your some focus. So at the very least, it's competitive, and schools around the country are noticing. I mean, even the NBA is getting into it now with Twitch and getting that multi-year contract going. So going forward, man, it's something to look into, to take serious.
Well, just a quick statement, because right in the middle of you saying, hey, not being necessarily athletes, but being competitions, I'm like, well, they could do this for video games, but they can't do this for band? Why can't they do this for band?
The next thing we got? What's the next thing we got? So that was 15
right.
So we both sort of cared about it.
Yeah, so I figured it was important enough to bring up. Another thing being, this is more so a small discussion, being that back on April 20th, the Nintendo Labo and God of War came out same day. So they both came out, and people, of course, had different reactions to both types of games because, of course, obviously one's a box and one's an actual. Well, I can't say one's a box. One is a game with configurations to it, and one is just a straight game with AAA production.
It's a bunch of pieces of cardboard.
Yeah, it's a bunch of pieces of cardboard, period. But of course, to each their own. Being that when God of War released, of course, everybody had their own reaction. Being that apparently that game was like sold out. I even went to go pick up my copy of God of War today. By the way, I did pick up a copy. Apparently, everybody pre-ordered it, and there were a bunch of people that didn't go pick up their game. So the game was paid for by a lot of people. So, I mean, it's sold out technically.
Maybe they were stuck playing Nintendo Labo, man. It does take a fair amount of time to get those things going.
I don't know about them being stuck on Nintendo Labo, but I do know this. When I went to go pick up my game, the people at GameStop said, hey, clear your schedule for like the next week because you will be stuck on this game. Which I haven't actually popped it in yet, but over the next few days, I'm probably going to lose like hours of my life. But then, of course, there's the Nintendo Labo that was actually, I can't think of the word suddenly, but Bill Nye he actually promoted it. So that was an awesome thing, saying it was very scientific in its way.
Our mutual friends, he actually made a good comparison to what you could compare Nintendo Labo to. Like, you can maybe compare it to an erector set in the sense that you're building something. And honestly, I've played a little bit of the Labo, and based on what I played, it's actually the making is really the fun part, man, because the games are rudimentary. They don't really do too much, and they take forever to make. So the fun is in the sense that, like, if you enjoy making Lego sets, you're going to enjoy the Labo because that's what it is. And I mean, the games are okay. The cool part is sort of the programming you could do. You could kind of mess with some of the programming. You can't get super deep into it, but you can mess with it. I know people have been making guitars. They've been making all kinds of stuff that was not necessarily out of the box. They were able to tinker with it enough. So it's kind of cool in that sense. But I do, I mean, if the question is, did Labo steal some of God of War's thunder? I think as far as my corner of the world, I know you say different, but for me, I feel like Labo has really kind of taken over the God of War's thunder, man. And
well, you only feel that way because you're over there seeing all these things on Twitter, which I ended up looking it up. Apparently, there's an average of about 1,000 tweets on the Labo versus God of War's 2,500 tweets. So that's one comparison right there. I understand that the Labo is getting more positive reviews because a lot of people don't really.
Both are. They both are. I mean, God of War.
I mean, they're both getting positive reviews, but the problem is
last week that it was the best exclusive. It was the best console exclusive reviewed game. So they both are getting positive.
Even with that being the case, there's still the people that didn't pick up the game simply because it's a God of War game, and they're thinking how it's just going to be like another God of War game where he's out there being all angry and stuff. That's not the case, and people don't play the game and they don't realize that it's not that. Then, of course, there are the people that didn't really understand the redemption that Kratos is trying to have in this video game, the way the story rolls out between him and his son, and it has confused a couple of people. So, well, I hope that people pick it up more, simply because yes, it is a different take on what the God of War is. Last I checked, it was supposed to be a type of reboot. Again, I haven't really played it, and I don't know exactly what the story is because I decided to elude all the people telling me exactly what the story is. So I'm gonna find out firsthand for myself.
You gotta go on blackout with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I did. I went on blackout. Like, people like, God of War, this is awesome. Like, no, I don't want to hear it.
Which is always kind of the catch-22, right? With media is that you kind of like, oh, I mean, they get you excited about the new content, new games coming up, but at the same time, it's kind of like, wait, hold up. I kind of don't want to know anything about it. Just kind of like, if I know there's people going into blackouts, media blackout for like, say, Infinity War, right? They're like, no, nobody, even if inadvertently you spoil it, there will be people that drop little hints. They're like, oh man, that was a good little hint that I wish I didn't know about.
That was a good droplet. Keep it to yourself. All right, but really quick, I did want to actually mention that for the Labo, which I know some people had actually thought about before the thing came out, was what happens if your thing gets damaged or broken or you lose pieces because there's a bunch of tiny little parts that you could easily lose. Well, Nintendo is, of course, starting to sell replacement parts at their online store. The prices can actually range from $1.99 to $13.99. I think you found an article somewhere that said it could range up to $62. So I don't know about all that, but I know between $1.99 and $13.99 for sure. If you prefer not to pay money for it, you can actually download the PDFs to actually start creating your own off of Nintendo Japan's website. So if you want to do that, that's another good way to be able to get your pieces back. Make them yourself.
I've been, like I said, I messed around with it a little bit, and it does take a good amount of work, a lot of bending. There's a lot of bending involved. So there is a chance that you will, I think one of our friends was asking me, like, is it a good quality cardboard? I was like, man, cardboard is cardboard as far as
cardboard is cardboard is cardboard.
It's just as good as whatever other cardboard you can get. You can still kind of rip it. I ripped a couple of the little pieces, but everything is still functional. So, but Nintendo knows, right? They got to give you the options, right? So it's kind of cool that they got the PDFs, and if you really want to, you buy the parts themselves, which is kind of cool because actually how the Labo comes, pat in the box is that you can. Everything's perforated, so you can just pop them out of like these standard size sheets and everything just pops out, so no scissors or anything like that required. But yeah, it's kind of cool that Nintendo's doing that.
Well, real quick, I actually do want to read a couple of the tweets that I actually found on this and people being positive about it. Primarily the one that I saw was by a tweeter named Chris Johnston. I know people were like $70 for cardboard to fold twice and you're done with it. Those people have no idea how much folding is involved. Say making a piano that not only works, but has a decent amount of features based on the Joy-Con's IR camera. Then, of course, people ask him, is it worth it? His response being, yes, at least the variety pack is. Hours of assembly, plus a lot of potential and fun stuff to do that's outside of that. Though my daughter is probably the younger age, at the younger end of ages, that would really appreciate the content. And of course, that's a good thing. And that's actually what we were thinking about even beforehand, thinking that it would probably be more for kids, but it's still fun to put together and play with your kids. So Retro Game Fix tweeted, the experience you get for that $70, especially with kids, is a fair price in my opinion. So
yeah, I mean, it is. I'm surprised with the positivity. I'm pleasantly surprised with the positivity because we got Michael Pachter predicting as like fanboys will buy even cardboard that's branded with Nintendo, and here we are. We're talking about it. We're playing it.
Oh, there was one tweet I saw. He was like, you know what? It might just be one-sided, but I'd pay double for this.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know about all that, but I think it's fairly priced. I feel like it's fairly priced and it's fun. Me and my daughter have been having fun with it, Next up, Dalan with 11 points. We got there's a new wave race rumored at the 2018 BAFTA Game Awards last week. Nintendo developer Shinya Takahashi was asked by fandom if we'd see another wave race, and he responded saying, quote, "You may see that game again. We have been trying to make many games that may be one of them. I personally love Wave Race." Unquote. The last game in the series was 2001's Wave Racer Blue Storm on GameCube. Now, Dalan, has it been too long since we've had a water ski racing game, or at least a good one?
Since we've had a good water ski racing game, yes. I would even say that Blue Storm was kind of mediocre, though I did play Blue Storm. I even let my goddaughters try it, and they were really into it. As a matter of fact, they wouldn't put it down for quite some time. But the fact of the matter is Wave Race was kind of OG in itself. I feel like that was the Jurassic Park of the GameCube. Or the way the Jurassic Park of the I get to use my obscure references, deal with
it. Like highly technical, not deal with it, explain, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, Wave Race, okay, Wave Race 64 was legit. That's the answer.
I don't understand. Yeah, but you said
you go back and watch Jurassic World. You'll understand.
Well, about Jurassic World, what I could understand, or Jurassic World is what you're saying, not Jurassic Park.
No. In Jurassic World, one of the characters said that first park was legit.
All right.
There you go. You got your whole explanation. You made me explain the whole thing. You ruined the joke. Move on.
How about this? As far as Wave Race, what I remember is having fun with the waves, having fun with the physics. It's kind of like, it's really awesome seeing my daughter kind of play all these different games, and the first thing she does is test the water physics, right? So
that's the thing.
That's really one of those that you're playing with the waves, you're trying to dip in and out of them, and figuring it out.
Fall off.
Yeah, and she even does it with, it's funny, with Knack 2, which doesn't have amazing water graphics necessarily. You can't even swim anywhere in that game. Like little puddles across the way, and she's like, "Look, water physics." I'm like, "All right, whatever, that's fine."
That was your fault. That was your fault entirely.
So I'm looking forward to there's it's not much of a confirmation, but at least is one of these guys. He worked on the original Wave Race 64. So the fact that one of the original creators was kind of like, you know what, we've been thinking about it. So we'll see. They got all these random games. We got a Smash Brothers re-release, and we got Metroid 4. We could at least get a Wave Race.
I would love to see Wave Race made with current graphics of today. So yeah, because an awesome thing.
The GameCube one was made in 2001, man. We're coming up on 2 decades after the fact. So
hey, imagine Wave Race VR.
I mean, it would be pretty nice. It would be pretty nice. What else do we got? What's next, Dalan, on this list?
Okay, so the next one you got on our list, sitting at 10 points. What? No, you know what? I'm not even going to go over that. You drink your water. What we got sitting here at 10 points, Final Fantasy VII's Remake is a new creation that aims to surpass the original, according to the job listing that Square Enix had put up. Parts of that full job listing, which I'm going to read to you, one of their direct statements being, not a remake, creation is the mission we were given. They then quoted some history facts about Final Fantasy VII, so I kind of blew past that. But now we have announced the release of Final Fantasy VII's Remake. Due to the huge reaction, we are aiming to nothing less than a new creation, not limited to a simple remake. It should be noted that the internal production after 20 years, the staff behind the original Final Fantasy VII, who are top rankers in the industry even now, are reuniting. A project to create a title that surpasses the original is starting full scale. So that was actually an exciting thing to even read. But of course, they're over here literally saying that it's going to affect the entire world. Right in their statements, they said preserving the existing concept, users hold while creating a new world view, just for everybody to view. And I'm hoping that with all the hype they even put in their job listing, that it becomes an excellent game, because they set a new standard when it came to RPGs in the first place.
We've talked about this game before, right? How they were they're on a hiring spree, they're on this other stuff, they're on this, they're on that. We're not seeing this game till 2022, man, with this nonsense time about this is going to be a new creation. Wait, I thought you guys were just working on a remake. What is this new creation nonsense? Yes, hyping it up, but remember how much they hyped up Final Fantasy 15. So, but and Final Fantasy 15 we didn't see till like 25 years later. So this one,
hey, Final Fantasy 15 kind of held up to all the hype. I mean, it got to a point where it like hit that cap. You were just under the hype, and then they started adding stuff to it, and people started to enjoy it even more. So I'm so glad at how it turned out.
It's not that they kept adding stuff, man. It's that the scope was so huge that they were like, oh, man, we're biting on more than we could chew. And what they're doing with 7, and they already said it, right? They said they're even going to do episodes. It's like, oh, they already looked at it, and they said Final Fantasy 7, as it was constructed, is huge. It's humongous, but they were dealing with a smaller team, crappier graphics, and now that they're like, oh, wait, that story was so epic, and for us to get it to an acceptable form in 2018, well, 2022, to get it to an acceptable form, then it's going to take so much work. And they're already like, we're going to make the first episode. The first episode ain't coming out till 2020 if we're lucky, Dalan. And then what happens. But I mean, I'm glad you're excited.
Well, it's one of those that I
long.
can wait as long as they do it right.
Well, I mean, at some point we will die, right? So you can't wait any longer after.
Carlos, don't even think that way. But hey, think of it this way: as long as it's not Duke Nukem Forever, I'm good.
All right. So sitting with 9 points is Black Ops 4's lack of single player. This year's Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is not including a single player because the developer was running out of time. As reported by Polygon, quote, the sources who asked for anonymity said that as Black Ops 4's release date approached, it became evident that development on the single player campaign wouldn't be completed. One source said that Treyarch has since found Black Ops 4's development on expanding multiplayer in the series' popular zombies mode. The source described an emphasis on cooperative modes as a potential stand-in for the typical single-player campaign experience. So this is actually the first time a Call of Duty game is released without a campaign, besides the time Black Ops 3 on PS3 and Xbox 360 when the series moved on to next gen. So my question, Daniel, is the fact that, as I like to call it, COD Blobs 4 launching without a campaign. Is that...
Did you say COD Blocks 4?
COD Blobs 4. Call of Duty Black Ops 4. COD Blobs 4. Is it a big deal?
Oh man. Well, the fact that most of the other games came with a campaign, it actually is a big deal for a lot of people who want to play the game. I mean, if we look, I'm not saying Star Wars Battlefront 2. I am going to say Star Wars Battlefront, when that game did not come with a campaign mode, it kind of took away from people wanting to actually buy the game. So when you take away the campaign from Black Ops 4, it kind of just throws nothing but multiplayer at it, and eventually it can be tiresome. It's nice to actually have a fresh story to be able to tell. The problem being is that they're trying to dish out this Call of Duty game. If they do take away the campaign mode, it's like looking at it and say, we've done all our campaigns. What else is there to do? We went to space.
Oh, no, you know what? As far as what this report says from Polygon, and of course it's an anonymous source, so who knows, right? But the understanding is that they were just running out of time, man. I'm guessing they must have had an idea. They must, maybe they went so hard on the multiplayer that they're like, oh, wait, we got to make a campaign now. And they ran out of time, or either they were working on it and it just wasn't working and they kept resetting it. And at some point, I guess they just figured, we're not gonna do it, and we're gonna talk about it a little later on. But there's this wave of battle royale games, and they're like, perfect excuse, no campaign mode. We could
let's test out our battle royale.
We'll talk about that a little down the road. But yeah, to me, it's sort of like this might be one of the Black Ops. Might be one of the Call of Duty games that I just don't pick up, man. I might not even rent, because really, whether I've rented or bought, because I really have bought most of them, and it's usually at a discounted rate, right? But I usually buy them and or rent to play the campaign. I play through the campaign. I get as many trophies as I can in those games. And now that it has no campaign, it's kind of like, what am I picking it up for, right? So this, this battle royale, them going into that, it's like, better be good. We'll talk about it a little bit more down the line. But what else you got, Dalan?
Well, another thing I got here for 9 points on the Richter scale, Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One. We did it! They made it. They crossed over $500 million worldwide, which makes me happy because I enjoyed the movie, and I apparently know that many other people enjoyed the movie. I mean, it wasn't like billions of dollars or nothing, but at least they made their money.
The dollars in the world, Dalan.
Yeah, I know. There's so much money in the world, and there were way too many movies coming out at the same time, especially big budget films. But they did domestically make 126 million. So here in America, we actually helped them succeed. But then they got even more money out in China. They got over $200 million. And in a foreign market, that's kind of a crazy thing to actually see when it comes to American budget films. And the last time we saw that was what? World of Warcraft?
It might seem like a crazy thing, man, but it's just China's. It's not a surprise anymore. It's not a surprise anymore.
After Warcraft, it's not a surprise anymore.
No, what I'm saying is the fact that China and foreign markets, including, because you have here China alone was 200 million. Other foreign markets, I'm guessing accumulative is 193 million. It's no longer a surprise, man. So this is why you start seeing Chinese and Asian actors in your movies, and why you start seeing set pieces in China or in Asia or wherever. Because of this, because you
went to Malaysia.
You want to attract the biggest audience possible, and this is why. Even though Ready Player One, I don't think you saw you didn't see a lot of it, right? But I just think it was big enough. I mean, one of the biggest markets is, you know, like say Korea. They have the fastest internet. They have it faster than us. It's a highly competitive market as far as StarCraft and other RTS games out there. But these are huge markets that people. It's no longer a surprise that they're hitting big. But I am happy for you, Dalan.
You're happy for me. I'm happy for Spielberg and who made the book.
As I had said, Dalan, it's the movie was better than it deserved to be, but hey, it resonated with a lot of people, and I'm glad that happened. That's why we have opinions. My opinion is it's a slightly above average movie. It was better than it deserved to be. Anything else?
No, that was all I had to add on that one. I was just happy to actually put that out there.
Now, I should say you were the only one that put it on your list, so we're understanding the weighted system quite well right now. So it was very high up on your list. I didn't even throw it in there, but I was like, Dan's gonna want to talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Up with 8 points is Warhammer developer jokes about crunch. Now this is Neocore Games wrote up a post saying that their game Warhammer 40,000 Inquisitor Martyr is being delayed from May to June 5th, and then casually dropping in that they'll put in a massive crunch to get it across the finish line, saying, quote, again, sorry for this, as we kindly ask for your further patience, and hopefully it won't be a big deal breaker for any of you. In return, we promise we'll push this extra 3 weeks and 90+ hours per week, so it'll be very, very useful for Martyr. And then, you know, later on, after some backlash, Neocore's Giorgio Voss later told Kotaku that it was just a joke. It said, quote, the line about starting to put 90+ hours per week to finish the game was a joke. That was sadly misunderstood and blown out of proportion. Voss said, we agree that 90/70, which, you know, the play on the 24/7.
90 hours a week, 7 days a week. 90 hours, 7 days a week.
It's nonsense, and we had no idea this unfortunate, ironic letter will be taken serious. My question, Dalan, is the massive crunch joke just a case of too soon?
Well, I wouldn't even say too soon. I would just say that people need to lighten the hell up. That's what I would say.
I'm saying too soon in the sense that in this past year, I know you don't follow the game news.
No. I still remember the fact that there were some people that ended up dying from overwork.
But that's not even. No, but that's not even. Yes. In extreme cases that has happened, but just in general, man, it's become a generally accepted thing that as far as when you get closer to a game's release, you crunch, you hit it hard. I mean, I'm sure they're already working 40, 50 hours, like quote unquote, normally. But when the game comes close to the release, there's been a lot of stories in the last year that saying these games you go into massive crunches, you know, and it's like these are realistic. So the reason that I say too soon is because it's been a reality in the last 6 months where developers are even considering unionizing. They're considering all these different aspects. And of course, some developers have it good and they do have a respectable work flow or work ratio, work to life ratio, whatever you want to call it. Like, for example, I believe Insomniac is one that is known for having a good work-life balance. But that's why I say it's too soon, man. This thing has been in the news. But how about this? On the other end of the coin is like, I mean, it sort of was a joke, right? So
exactly.
But at the same time,
no. But I get the fact that they were making the joke too soon. But let's say, for example, they made the joke later when it was close to actual crunch time, and then he tried to take that. Then he tried to walk it back. He wouldn't be able to walk it back because everybody would be taking it too seriously that it was a part of crunch time, and they'd be like, "No, you're over here lying to us, and you know they're over there crunching 90 hours a week. That's not the case."
Like I said, I think it's one of those like read the room type of things that, you know, I mean, people make mistakes too, but yeah, we should be able to joke, but it's kind of serious. Like, you know, the extreme example you mentioned, some people die. Some people have died. I think it's been in the U.S. As far as I understand. I don't think I've heard it.
No, there have been people that have been hospitalized from it, but not like lost of like what was it, gone through separation and stuff like that because of it, but never like lost their life.
It's a serious thing. I do appreciate a good joke, but I don't know, man. I think this guy, the fact that it's been in, because one of the reasons that this comes up is there's a guy, Kotaku, Jason Schreier, that works over there for Kotaku. He actually wrote a book. He called it Blood, Pixel, and Tears or something like that. Sorry to mess up the name of the book, but he chronicles a lot of these stories with developers, and they fought. He's in that book. He actually talks about how the Star Wars game, what were the problems with what happened there, and sometimes it is overworking. Sometimes, of course, it's politics, like in any type of job. But you know, it is, you know, too soon. I guess you could take
too soon.
I guess I would say it's a little too soon. Read the room, but for you, I guess it's people should be able to take a joke.
Mm. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next subject or my next point. Yeah, they do need to learn how to read the room though, or just take a joke. Anyways, got number 8 on my list. I got it at 7 points. Valve buys out the Firewatch developer Campo Santo. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that right. You're talking about I need to learn Spanish. Oh well, deal with it.
Well, you live in California. You should probably know a little more Spanish than you do, but fine.
Yeah, at least I say Santo, all right, instead of Santo.
You got it good.
All right, so if people forgot what kind of games Valve makes, it's like things like Half-Life, Team Fortress, Portal, Counter-Strike, Left 4 Dead, and they're pretty good at making series, and they have their own engine. Campo Santo obviously made the game Firewatch, and with the upcoming game In the Valley of the Gods, I should also mention that when the company was created, it was just a small combination of people from other video game developers, which is kind of cool that they actually decided to have their own little startup company, and it just formed into Firewatch. But as you like to call it, it's a walking simulator.
Well, I won't take credit for it, as many people like to call them walking.
Yeah, well, I had never heard the term before, so I'm going to let you coin that for right now. So Campo Santo actually confirmed in their news blog. They asked us if we were interested in coming up to Bellevue and doing this game there, and we said yes. So that was just extreme confirmation right there. They had a whole thing all before that, the whole story of how they got to that point about stealing champagne and stuff like that. But it boiled down to they're moving to Bellevue, Washington, and they're going to start making games under Valve. So their follow-up statement being that, yes, we're still making Valley of the Gods as a Valve game. Yes, we'll still support Firewatch, and yes, we'll still produce the quarterly review and our regular blog content. My question being is that with their engine and moving over to Valve, will this actually spawn different games by this developer? Because with their walking simulators, not for me, because it's a walking simulator, you just kind of go through, talk on your walkie, talk to that person, move on, nothing happened. But
story-wise, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess it's a seriously story-driven game. And don't mind you, I don't mind a story-driven game, but the way that this was story-driven, I kind of like get bored of it. It's like reading a boring book to me.
I got you.
But how about for you? Do you want to see more simulator games, or do you want to see them spawn something else out of this?
The interesting thing is that Valve doesn't make games anymore, man. Their platform.
That's why I said engine.
Their Steam. Yeah, they do have the Steam engine, but I'm not really sure even how many games use it besides, Counter-Strike, Left 4 Dead, games that have been out forever, Team Fortress. It's a lot of Unreal, a lot of Epic. Well, it's Unreal and a lot of other engines that are already readily available. But it's like every time one of these things happen where Valve is involved, it always kicks up the, can we get Half-Life 3 now? Because I really don't care. I really don't care for walking simulators. Honestly, I've tried a few of them and they're all right. But it's always like, are they going to finally work on Half-Life 3? Firewatch developer Campo Santo, congratulations on you guys being happy and going to a good place. I've heard Valve is a good company. But I don't even think they... they definitely don't have the expertise to make a first-person shooter. But it's good.
No, that's not what even I was thinking.
Good that Valve. Well, I mean, they just haven't built them, right? They've built walking simulators. They haven't built any shooters. In the Valley of the Gods, actually, that one looks really good, man. Based on the trailer that they've shown of it, it looks pretty good. It still looks like a walking simulator, but
they could at least make it a little more cinematic. That's what I mean.
Yeah, it looks great. It actually does look great. I'm more excited for that I was ever for Firewatch, because right off Firewatch, you could tell kind of like I'm just gonna be walking around some woods. But it's cool that if Valve themselves are not going to be creating game, at least they're bringing in some developers, right? To kind of like, okay, what else can we do? And now they're under the guiding hand of Valve and Gabe Newell over there, So maybe I'm hoping that some of that Miyamoto magic gets thrown their way. Maybe they can do something else that's super exciting, once they're done with the Valley of the Gods.
Now, I was actually looking at Valve's website, and I know a few years ago they were really focusing on Vive's VR system. So I hope that they actually create. Well, I would love to see Campo Santo actually make a game in VR, because that would probably be very exciting with the way that they actually make it.
As far as walking simulators, they're known for having good dialogue. They're good for getting you through it. Maybe they make a good Portal 3, you know? Maybe
yeah, that's another thing. Good Portal 3, a little bit of puzzle in there.
that in there. Maybe they can do that. So I know I threw this out there. I was like, oh, Half-Life 3, but we're not gonna see that game, man.
Let's just be honest. Be honest with ourselves. It's not happening.
It'll take some. Yeah, I mean, they're just too busy with Steam. Otherwise, they would work on it. But next up, we did promise you this with 6 points is we're going to talk about the Battle Royale craze. So now both Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and Battlefield 5 are set to implement Battle Royale as one of their main modes. COD Ops 4 in lieu of a single-player campaign, apparently. And EA DICE has been working on a prototype for Battlefield 5. This, according to US Gamer, quote, "These are preliminary efforts by EA DICE, and the Battle Royale prototype still hasn't actually been approved for release. And even if DICE sees an avenue for a Battle Royale mode in Battlefield 5, it won't be ready in time for the game's release, which is scheduled for sometime later this year." And, you know, my question to you, Dylan, is there no end in sight to the Battle Royale craze?
Well, when it comes to the Battle Royale craze, I'm more so thinking about the phases that gamers will go through. Because, of course, there was the RTS phase, being a real-time strategy. There's the RPG phase, where everybody was crazy about RPGs and first single-player games, where they would get those very deep stories and fantasy that they'd be able to go through. Then there was even the Skyrim phase of the open world doing fantasy stuff. Then, of course,
still are, man, in that open.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. You got GTA that really kicked off the whole real open world thing. I mean, Spider-Man started copying them. What?
You say Shenmue? Is Shenmue off the open world game?
Well, I mean, Shenmue really started. Shenmue started the what is that? The button thing. I forgot what it's called right now.
It's tongue in cheek, Dalan. Shenmue didn't start no open world thing. It was just
no, they didn't start no open world. But what they did start was the button thing, where you have to press the button at the right time.
Yes. QT is they definitely. You know, up to I don't even know if
quick time events
up to the recent God of War, but God of War was big in QTEs, man. That's what made them so epic, was the fact that every once in a while, every battle would culminate in a QTE fight, you know, or it would give you a different option to do things. But so you were talking about fads, right? And we're in a current
our current fad being that we're in this open world, massive multiplayer, lets everybody kill each other type war thing. You could have small groups if you want. I mean, even though Battlefield 1 is a first-person shooter game, it was still a huge map with a whole lot of people trying to kill each other on opposite sides, and that was everybody's favorite thing to do at that moment.
You bring up a good point, man. I mean, Battlefield is a series that has. I try not to give you too many good salient points. You do bring up a good point, man. Battlefield has always been known for having these huge maps. And why not? Why not have a prototype? I know I didn't mention it here, but they did. They were saying that if it's doesn't come out in release, which apparently they're saying is out this year. I didn't even know that, but if it comes out this year, they might make a post-release patch. You know, kind of like with Fortnite. You know, Fortnite was its own separate game, and then they're like, let's try this Battle Royale. So maybe with Battlefield 5, they already have the big maps. They just kind of have to set the parameters and get it to, you know, Battle Royale mode. But I'm kind of, you know what? I'm looking forward to the game that I actually try, because PUBG is on Xbox. I don't really play PC, so, and I don't play on my Xbox that much. And Fortnite is it's Fortnite, man. I don't know. It doesn't. It has the building and the crafting stuff to it, which I'm kind of like not that convinced by. So I'm waiting for that game, man. Maybe it is Call of Duty. Maybe it is Battlefield 5 before this thing really hits that next level that apparently it had already hit with PUBG, but to the stratosphere now, I believe.
To the stratosphere. It started this whole trend, and it's not stopping anytime soon. Exponential growth. It's gone.
We're gonna go into where you don't hear any noise, man. You know, you go into the atmosphere and it goes.
It's good. The space is going to suck the sound right out of it. All right. So next thing I have on Salient Points here, I have here for 6 points, being one of my favorite series of games, which of course they've had their ups and downs, being Sonic Mania. Upcoming, they actually had an upcoming update that was leaked back on April 17th. I believe it was on the UK servers, but since then got taken down. It was taken down like the next day. But before it got taken down, Kotaku and IGN actually were able to take some screenshots of what was actually happening there, where they actually listed some of the new cinematics and content and level changes that were actually going to be coming, being like you can now skip cut scenes. They're going to have a total overhaul of the menu. They're going to allow you to be able to go into the pause menu and actually disable the time limit for the levels, which I think is crazy. But at the same time, if you just want to have fun on the level,
options.
Yeah, it's an option. Multiplayer was added to allow you to actually turn off the stretched mode, because of course that's very frustrating to actually see Sonic stretched or compressed. Just choose your size. Some of the fights for the game were actually redone, so they actually give you a reason to be able to go back and play the game, because some of the fights were really changed, and they're going to be updating some of the graphics and animations for the game. So honestly, myself, I saw the game back when it came out, heard way too many good things about it. It blew up on the internet for a bit, and I missed out on the whole train of Sonic because I was too busy doing other things with my life at the time. But I'm definitely going to be able to pick it up on the Switch.
It was only $20, so
it's $20 that I could use towards something else. But at this point in my life, I have the ability to save up money and be able to actually buy the game without hurting my pocket. So probably next
as an adult, you should be able to have $20 of disposable income at any time. Not that you have hundreds of dollars. That you just at least have $20 that you're.
Hey, I just spent my $20 on God of War. So
I don't know what that has to do with Sonic Mania that came out last summer, but
yeah, it has nothing to do with that. I found that I have my set ways. Deal with it. I'm gonna get it eventually, guys. If you like Sonic the Hedgehog, this is one of the better installments in the series. Unlike the terrible Sonic Sonic Adventures 2 or the 2007.
I think it's about episode 4, right? Don't be hating on episode 4. Actually, it was probably pretty terrible.
No, episode 4 I liked, but then they made episode 4 part 2.
So so this isn't gonna be an update to any version of the game, right? So and then the next re-release that they're doing is gonna be just another update. They're adding more stuff to it, right?
Yeah.
Which, this is just kind of a quality of life stuff, which is pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool that Sega's.
No, actually, one thing they are doing, they are adding to it. And when I said they were adding cutscenes, they're actually going to be adding level-to-level cinematic sequences that actually interchange them.
Like Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Man or whatever. You see the little Pac-Man going.
No, it's going to be like a full-on cutscene.
Okay, I got you.
Like telling some story.
And this is for the re-release, or this is going to be an update to every version of the game?
This is going to be an update to the Sonic Mania's game.
All right, I got you, man. That's pretty cool, man. I'm looking forward to it. Finally playing it too. I'm not gonna make the excuse that I didn't have $20. I could have used it for anything else. I just didn't pick it up, which I probably.
Now you're gonna make the excuse. I just didn't do it.
Those were our top 10 news. I hope you enjoyed that list. But we do have one more thing. We're gonna do this we didn't get a chance to talk about it on our list, and this next one is just because. It was kind of late, man. It was kind of late. We were trying to figure it out. We had already done our homework, our top 10 weighted list. So, but this was pretty big, man. So, this is Quantic Dreams versus Games Media, apparently. And Quantic Dream is suing a game media outlet, Le Monde. They're French, Le Monde and Mediapart, for publishing stories, along with one that was not sued, Canard PC, about toxicity at the developer back in January. The Detroit Become Human developer threatened legal retaliation, and Kotaku confirmed that the media outlets and the Quantic Dream are indeed involved in litigation against each other. Quantic Dream head David Cage has denied allegations of making racist jokes in front of employees and promoting a, quote, culture of casual sexism, unquote, at the studio. And those are one of the things that came up from these 3 different media outlets that actually went to go visit the developers. So it's kind of weird, It's kind of I would see these things as allegations. They are going through a lawsuit, so we're gonna find out whether they're true or not. But it's 3 different sources, man. And
it's kind of hard to actually argue the point where they do a camera shot of one of the higher ups in the company talking about that there's nothing like that in our offices. And then you look at the background of that very same video, and you see a phallus there on the wall.
I didn't see that, but if that's really the case, then it's kind of hard to defend that kind of thing. But it's crazy. So Quantic Dream is actually suing these different French media outlets. And if you guys don't know, I believe this is the case unless they move. But Quantic Dream and David, he's French, so I believe they are located in France. If we, if I'll be standing corrected if they move. But I believe this is one of those things where it's like it hits close to home, right? It's a French development. I know David Cage for sure is French, but it's not clear when the lawsuits were filed based on what I was seeing. But considering Detroit is so close to launch, is it really the time for Quantic Dream to be suing games media, Dalan?
Well, that depends on. Well, that actually depends on if they actually just started suing them, because they could have been suing them months ago, but it didn't come out until now. It's just not a public suit. So if it's not public, it's just between them and the other party. That's why when they ended up saying, "Hey, where were you? Hey, I got caught up in court." How long have you been caught up in court? Oh, about 3 months now. Well, he didn't say that part. But it's possible.
Don't be throwing things that people didn't say in there, Dalan.
He didn't say that.
So basically, how this came to be is that at Kotaku, one of the guys, actually we talked about it earlier, Jason Schreier, he actually was promoting his book, and one of those stops was to France, and the France translation of it. Oh, so the book is Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. Now that I remember what it was. And so one of these, I believe it was Le Mans, they actually canceled the interview, the appointment, and he was like, "Oh, what happened?" And they said they're caught in court. They're caught up in court, and it's because of this whole Quantic Dream thing. So, basically what happened, they made these allegations. Now you're saying that there's a video. It's kind of hard to defend. That's pretty much what Quantic Dream is doing, right? They're suing them for defamation, for libel, whatever you want to call it. So we'll see, man. We'll see what comes out of it. We might be talking about it next week or up to the week of release. I mean, US Gamer or one of the articles I was reading, they're talking about they basically made a promise, right? They're like, this is stuff we will be asking the developer about up to the release of the game. Is like, you guys are all right. You got your little agenda, and I just want to see till this thing plays out. I want to see what happens. I'm not saying they didn't do it, and if there's some photographic proof already out there, then it's kind of hard to defend. But you'd like to see what comes out of it, and what's true, what's not true. It's kind of like you gotta kind of give the benefit of the doubt. But like you said, photographic evidence is kind of hard to dispute.
Exactly. But maybe it was just a one-off instance and it just happened to be a joke in the office for all we know. And it's one of those things where like the culture now, it's, do people get offended too easily? Yes. But at the same time, at the same time, it's kind of like like the thing we were talking about earlier, man, with the crunch thing. It's like, you got to read the room, man. Who are you? Who are your employees, man? It's not, I'm sure it's not an all male dominated studio, man. It's men and women working alongside each other. You respect each other, and you kind of take these things into account, right? I wouldn't be surprised if some of those women drew those things, but hey.
How about this? It's not a South Park studio, right? It's not, and the game, as far as what I've seen, it touches on some delicate topics. It talks about like child abuse and all these different topics that are going to be pretty heavy. So you would think they would have this extra level of, maybe we shouldn't be doing these things around the office, even if it's just for fun. So, but we'll see what comes out of it. If they're wrong, they're wrong. So anything else before on the last thing we'll
get I do got one final thing to actually bring up. I can't say that it didn't make it on my list. I would have put it high on the list, but it's more my thing than yours.
I didn't put it on my list at all. So
so there you go. I figured that was going to be the case, but I also figured I was going to mention this. Period. Being that I'm a fan of Castlevania. I played like every Castlevania game that's come out. I've beaten most of them if I could, because those things can get real difficult sometimes. I even played some of the terrible 3D ones, waiting for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night to come out. But now I'm hearing about this multiplayer Castlevania game that's going to be coming out for the iOS. Out in Japan, or at least right now, it's going to be a beta version. They're going to call it Castlevania Grimoire of Souls. So that's going to be an awesome thing. I'm hoping that'll come out for the Android, or at least come out in America at some point. Hey, put it on the Vita for all I care. Make it a PlayStation Network game or an Xbox side network game.
The Switch has taken the role of Vita, man. So
whatever, bring the Switch, bring it to the Switch. I'll play it there too.
I would like things on the Vita because I get trophies that way, but I just know that the Switch has replaced the Vita, so that's kind of what that's the deal there.
All right. Well, so far news of this game, it's going to be a Japanese closed beta, and we have no word of whether or not there's going to be an international release. Apparently, it is another story where someone foolishly wants to resurrect Dracula, but it will be either a single-player game or you could actually play it up to 4-player co-op. It's going to include things like boss rush modes and battle mode versus your friends. And I'm fairly certain that you're going to be able to play a co-op in the campaign. That's what it looked like in some of the images that I was seeing. You'll be able to play as some of the series favorites like Simon Belmont, Alucard, and you'll actually be able to play as a couple of new characters. One of them being Aruma Genta, a mysterious Japanese government agent, or a researcher named Lucy, which gave me no additional information. Her name is just Lucy. Might as well just be Black Widow for all I know. Yeah, this is Scarlett Johansson in disguise. They're just gonna dump her in the game without her knowledge. But it's gonna be playable on iOS 9.0 or later, the iPhone 6s, iPad 5th generation, iPad Air 2. I didn't even know that was a thing. iPad Mini 4, iPad Pro. But all these and later. For those generations. And again, I'm just hoping it'll come out on the Android if it's solely going to be
in the US, man. That's what you basically got to hope for.
I don't even care if it comes out in the US because you can sign up on Konami's official website up until the end of April to actually get the Japanese to actually get a hold of the Japanese beta. However, there is a lottery selection system in the middle of May on whether or not you'll even get the game. So if you have an American IP, I don't know if they're going to let you.
You just gotta believe, basically.
You gotta believe. Yeah, it's a lottery. You gotta believe. Believe hard.
That's Salient Points number 28 for this week. We hope you enjoyed our breakdown of the news and our new format. I think we're having fun with it. We're still tweaking it. We're still figuring it out, as we always are. But we hope you enjoyed it. I'm Carlos Macias. You can find me on Twitter at aduseclean.com. Dalan, where can the fine people find you?
Well, if you want to find me on Twitter, I do respond to my tweets at _Zation_.
Are you on Twitter?
What?
You were active on Twitter at one point, man.
Yeah, I was active on Twitter at one point. Then I dropped, and I came back. Then I dropped. It's kind of an off and on thing. Like I said, if you message me, I'll respond, and I might be active for a little while. Then I'll drop off. I'll taper off. How about that? But if you really want to reach me, you can probably reach me more easily at Cloud Neftis 2 on YouTube. So
yeah, someone took the one. I got you, man.
No, there wasn't even a one. They just took the name. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just put 2.
I got you. Well, you got your Konami news in there, Dan. I hope you're happy. All right.
I am. I'm very excited about this. I'm down for another Castlevania. As a matter of fact, before we go, I just want to say that I'm very glad that they're even making another Castlevania game, regardless if it's not on a major system, because I thought they were done with Castlevania games after they got rid of the creator of Castlevania.
You should have had a DS when the series was annualized, right?
Hey, I played those games.
I know you played them years after the fact, but they were annualized.
No. I played them as they came out.
Yeah, emulation. All right, good job.
No. I bought them from friends.
I got you. I got via emulation. It's okay. But you've corrected your ways, I believe, right? You have a DS.
Yes, I have a DS. I have my Vita. I'm ready to play them.
Whatever, man. Be excited and not have a DS when they were being annualized every year. You got to.
Well, next thing I got to do, get myself Mario Kart 8. I'll see you later.